Captain Filter Podcast 1. Uh, we have all heard of Stone Age, Copper Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age. Then came the Industrial Age, where all the planes and the trains and the automobiles came and the machines came. And we got so involved. Humanity has got so involved in it. And now we are in the age of information. Information is available everywhere. Online. All kinds of information is available. Everyone is saying something or the other. All kinds of inputs. Everyone giving their advice and their opinion and their knowledge. There's so much information that it is confusing. It is so confusing what is to be followed, and hence the captains have decided that they will come up with a few filter podcasts. Filter podcasts. Why filter? So that all that information we filter it and we put it into simple language for people to understand what is the essence. And the captains are not saying anything new. This is all ancient wisdom which has been there for so long. The next stage after age of information is the age of spirituality, which we are going into now after post-interval. After this decade of 2020s gets over, we will go into age of spirituality. So now we are at the age of information. So let's begin. The captains don't want to make a very long podcast. We want to keep it short. Let's begin with basics. First point is God. What is God? There's a lot of confusion about God. That's why we are coming up with this podcast. We are starting this series of filter podcasts. Now, God is the Supreme Spirit. It's known by so many names, but it's the Supreme Spirit. The website calls it supra-consciousness. It's invisible. It's indescribable. It can be only felt. Words fall short to describe. Languages limit God. It has to be felt by the heart. God is the base on which everything rests. We can put it like science is a painting on the fabric of spirit. Okay? Science is a painting on the fabric of spirit. So the science which we are trying to discover depends on the spirit. A man who starts an experiment, whether the experiment will be successful or no, also depends on the spirit. Supra-consciousness, eternal supra-consciousness. It's everywhere. It keeps the protons in the nuclei of all atoms together. Protons are positive charge and they should repel each other, but they stay together. Science calls it nuclear strong force. They have no explanation for it. But that is God. And everything is made up of atoms, including the air. So atoms are everywhere, nuclei are everywhere, protons are everywhere, and these protons in the nuclei are kept together by God. So we exist because of God. Let's get that clear first. We don't exist because of some evolution theory or some will of our own. We are existing because of God. This God, the supra consciousness, is everywhere. It's omnipresent, omniscient. It knows everything. And the humans have to cultivate the presence of God. Very important. Presence of God is everywhere. It's not a man or one being. It's everything. Unity. It's oneness. Now, the presence of God, Muslims pray 5 times, are supposed to pray 5 times in a day. Why? To keep the presence of God alive. Because the outside consciousness in the world, the success and survival and relationships and ego and all that distracts you from God. And money, pressures, everything distracts you from God. So the presence of God is important. Cultivating the presence of God is important. One can go to the church once in a week for a mass on Sunday. Muslims have made it more kinetic, that you have to pray 5 times in a day. This presence of God can be explained by there was a scientific experiment called the double slit experiment, in which light was thrown on a stand which had 2 slits, and there was a screen on the other side. This was conducted by Thomas Young first in 1801. Now, the light passed through as wave, but the stand, which had 2 slits, had detectors on it. The moment they switched on the detector, the light behaved as a particle instead of a wave. The moment they switched off the detector, it again became a wave. Now that is supraconsciousness. If electrons know when they are being detected and they change their behavior because they are being observed, if electrons can do that, that is supraconsciousness. It's everywhere. Switch on the camera and you'll see how people also change their behavior. So God, the supraconsciousness, eternal supraconsciousness, is a participant with you, with one in life. It's not some image that can be achieved after the age of 60. Let us make money and have children and have fun, and after 60 we will think about God. No. It has to be done now. For everyone. Now, another example of supra-consciousness is like we have smartphones. Smartphones, they help us. They have a camera, they have a calculator, they can talk on phone, and there's so many facilities are there. They help us, they guide us, they prompt us. They have a smartphone. Similarly, life is smart life. Supra-consciousness is, the life is it indicates to everyone what is right. It prompts to everyone. Let us take an example of, there's so many people from all walks of life. But let us go down to some forest, let's say Amazon forest, and go to one corner and let's talk about two rats, hungry. One of them decides to come out and hunt for food. The other one decides no. Now see how supraconsciousness works. The mouse that comes out to hunt for food doesn't know that there's a snake also hungry, also hunting for food. So now whether the snake goes hungry or the mouse dies, that also supraconsciousness decides, depending on the way they are thinking, what thoughts are coming in the mind of the mouse and the snake. One time the mouse might die, the next time it might escape. Everything is supraconsciousness. So we're saying that it's at that level. Goddeath works at that level. It's not just, okay, we can go and do something. Yes, great. No. It's on, it's live, it's on. The science is a painting on the fabric of the spirit. One might have seen in movies that if ghosts come, the electric bulbs flicker. Scientifically, there's no explanation for the electric bulbs to flicker. But because the spirits are there, the science changes. Science is a painting, but the fabric is spirit. And there are people who think they are God. No. Once you reach a stage of becoming one with God, then you don't think you're God, because everything is God. So, the smart life, people commit suicide, people commit crimes, someone is jilted in love, so he or she will either commit suicide or will commit a crime. But smart life has prompts. Like when the body is hungry, it prompts. You can feel you're hungry. So you take in food. When you're thirsty, the body prompts. You're thirsty. So you drink water. Similarly, smart life has consciousness. Conscience. That conscience within each of us is a smart life prompt. When you're doing something wrong, you know. The conscience tells you that it is wrong. Choice is whether to follow it or ignore it. Ideal thing is to follow it. So if someone jilts you, okay, no big deal. Life goes on. If you find someone else, great. If you don't find someone else, still great. Life is temporary. This is just a small flash of 100 years, 150 years. There's eternity before and eternity after life. There are some religions that believe in reincarnation. There's some religions they say there's no reincarnation. But it's the same thing. Let us take a case of when there's no reincarnation and the body dies. And the soul, that is the person, that is you, the person, leaves the body and goes out into a spirit world. The body is cremated or buried or whatever. People cry. But you're not dead. You're dead for the world, the physical world, but you're not dead. So now, once you reach that world of pure love, of eternity, of forever love, unconditional love, then one self-reflects on the life one has led and decides whether to get reincarnated to correct the mistakes or no, to learn the longer way of. So that is an option to the soul, whether to reincarnate or not to reincarnate. The only purpose of life is lessons. One has to learn lessons. A rich man in this life might die, might realize he has committed so many wrongs, and might decide to come back into this same earth as a poor man and go through what he should have ideally balanced, he, she. If the lessons are not learned, then again, the only lesson to be learned is that we are part of God. We are not individuals having individual identities. We are part of God. We are here only to learn that. That's it. That's the only purpose of life. So, supraconsciousness, God, that is the first. And we are doing it because these misconceptions are there and it's urgent, it's important for some clarity. That is the first point, is God. The second point in this podcast, we don't want to make it too long, is religion. Now imagine that God is a palace. And on the throne is the supraconsciousness, eternal supraconsciousness. That is God. Imagine. That is the source, that is the center of everything. That's within us, within each electron, within nuclei, within the atom, within molecule, is there, is the base. Now this palace of God is surrounded by, let us say, a wall, a huge, tall wall, a thick wall. You might talk about a 10-meter thick wall, or you might talk about a 10-kilometer thick wall. But a 10-kilometer thick wall doesn't make sense. So let us say the palace is surrounded by mountains. It's very difficult to get to that palace. Now religions are tunnels in that mountain range, which connect the outside world to the palace of God. There are different tunnels, different gates leading to the palace of God. Now each religion has a different format, it has a different ritual, it has a different look to it, it has a different, depending on the people who have experienced God from those religions. So religions vary, but they all serve the same purpose of conducting consciousness from outside to inside via the tunnels. Some tunnels are long, some tunnels are curving, some tunnels go up and down. They are different. There are some tunnels which are not even religion, like meditation, or let us say the spirit of the Incas, or the Aborigines. They have no religion. The natives have no religion, but they still have a tunnel to go from outer consciousness to inner consciousness. Go within with what they say. Now, religions just perform that function. It does not matter which religion you follow or you don't follow a religion. The important thing is to go from outside, use a tunnel from in the mountain to get to the palace of God. All religions are equal. They're just different formats. There's no point fighting my religion and your religion. No, it doesn't make sense. My tunnel versus your tunnel. Sorry. All tunnels are equal. The purpose of the tunnel is to take one consciousness from outside world to palace of God. Now, everything is a state of mind. We all know everything is a state of mind. Why do people smoke or consume alcohol or drugs? To change the state of mind. The system is so warped that one needs an altering mechanism to cope with this warped system, money-based, success-based, ego-based. So everything is a state of mind. Now, in religions, rituals, take any tunnel. There are rituals. There are a certain way of dressing. There are a certain way of praying. There are a certain way of eating. There are rituals. Now one can get into, why this ritual and why not this ritual? No. The other alternative is just to follow the rituals. What does that do? Initially, one might not be comfortable. But if one sticks to the ritual of the religion, it's not to compare tunnels, it's just for oneself. If one sticks to the ritual of the religion, adheres to it, initially it is difficult, but slowly it becomes a ritual. Slowly it becomes a routine. You do that every day, it becomes mechanical. And that process itself over time changes the state of mind. The state of mind changes. And suddenly, one day, one realizes that one is in the palace of God. One has traversed the tunnel and has experienced the palace of God. The throne is still far away, but one has entered the palace of God. Those rituals, they have only that function. And once one experiences that feeling of everlasting love, unconditional happiness, joy, the bliss of being, that is a glimpse of what supra-consciousness, eternal supra-consciousness is. One more thing before we end this podcast. Goddeath, the website calls it Goddeath. Why? Because God and death are a chain. One takes birth, then one goes to school. So God has started. But the school ends, so death has happened. But what happens? One goes to college. God again has started. So God, death, God. Then one finishes college. Death again has happened. So God, death. Then one starts work. God has again started. Then one finishes work. Then death. Work comes to an end. One retires. Death. God, death. Then retired life starts. God has again started. Everything is a chain. Sorrow and happiness are a chain. If you're sad, if you just be patient, it'll pass. It's just a way of testing. It's the process of the tunnel. These are conditions to get into the palace. That you have to become indifferent to sorrow and happiness, because sorrow and happiness relate to oneself. It's happening to one, but once you realize that you are not there, there's only God. Then the sorrow comes and happiness comes, and sorrow comes and happiness comes. So this clinging to this outside consciousness, outside the mountain of me, my name, my house, my reputation, my success, my standing means nothing. As one traverses the tunnel, it by the rituals, the state of mind changes, and one comes into a state of mind where one experiences the palace of God. So much for this podcast. We will continue as and when. Also, the description right now, we might not be able to put additional helping links right now, but over time we will try to update the description of the video, and it's to help if needed. So one can listen to the video after, or just check the description after some time and see if there's a change in the description to help understand or assimilate a filter podcast. Thank you.